Hi everyone, and today I'm going to be speaking about how for many people eating gluten can cause fatigue and other symptoms such as digestive issues. So I have a lot of experience with this myself. I suffered with coeliac disease. I couldn't digest gluten. This was diagnosed by having a IgG, a blood test, IgA blood test for the coeliac antibodies, and they found they were positive. But then of course that immediately removed gluten, and 6 weeks later when they did the endoscopy it came back negative, so I was never diagnosed with it, but I'm pretty sure that I had it if I had coeliac antibodies. So I have avoided gluten ever since then, and I just feel a lot better avoiding it. So coeliac disease, which I was just talking about, this is an autoimmune disease, and if you eat gluten it can lead to coeliac disease, which can lead to fatigue if you have these antibodies against your gut lining. So coeliac disease, it's an autoimmune disorder of the small intestine which is caused by an inability to digest gluten, and this leads to inflammation and eventually destruction of the intestinal lining, which can lead to the malnutrition and fatigue. So this can affect genetically susceptible people of all ages from middle infancy onwards, including me, which is affected. And so gluten is a protein found in grains such as wheat, barley, rye and rolled oats, and gluten is present in the part of the grain called the endosperm, and it is made up of two proteins called gliadin and glutenin. And in coeliac disease, the immune system mistakenly identifies parts of the gliadin and the gluten proteins found in gluten as foreign and destroys them, and this can also lead to the destruction of the gut lining as well. So this produces inflammation, and the inflammation completely strips your microvilli in the gut, which can make it difficult to digest vitamins and nutrients. And obviously inflammation can lead to pain and further chronic fatigue. And then this can cause wasting and a sort of scalloping on the microvilli, which can lead to them not being able to digest and absorb food properly. So symptoms of this can include diarrhea, bloating, discomfort, abdominal pain, weight loss, fatigue, fat in your stools, mouth ulcers, malnutrition, anxiety and depression. And when you go to your doctor, normally the test for coeliac disease would involve doing an antibody blood test, which is what I had, and then if that's positive then you would go on to have an endoscopy or a biopsy to see if you have the scalloping. So as I said, this is something that I suffered with previously, and I removed gluten from my diet, but and that removing gluten from your diet can result in a complete recovery, which it did for me. Obviously I removed gluten and it reduced my bloating, gas, it reduced my fatigue a little bit, but it didn't completely solve the problem of my fatigue, which is why I later went on to see a naturopathic nutritionist, and I followed her 4-month protocol, including testing for food intolerances and other viruses, candida overgrowth, bacterial infections, and she discovered I had some of these, and then avoided the foods I was reacted to, and went on a protocol to cleanse these infections and detox from my body, and made some changes to my diet. And that, a combination of all that, was really what got me my energy back, so I was able to work again, be productive, do things I enjoy. So you may have heard of food intolerances as well, also known as food sensitivities, or some people call them food allergies as well. So these are really common. So a food intolerance is when you eat a certain food, and if you happen to have leaky gut, molecules of the food can fall through into your bloodstream, and your immune system can detect these, for instance, gluten molecules, see them as a foreign invader. And similar to celiac disease, the immune system attack and destroy these molecules of food, which can also lead to inflammation and gut damage in your gut lining while the gluten's present there. And this is like an IgG antibody reaction. So symptoms of food intolerance, it can be to any food as well as gluten, and it can include symptoms such as bloating, fatigue, brain fog, headaches, diarrhea, some constipation. And gluten is very, very commonly reacted to as a food. It's one of the most commonly ones I see on food intolerance tests that I do, the finger prick blood test ones that people react to, that as well as cow's milk. So this is one of the reasons that maybe you may be reacting to it. And also something else, so gluten has been genetically altered over time. So the gluten that you eat today, it's not the same gluten that your parents or grandparents ate. And although gluten hasn't technically been genetically modified, it's been significantly hybridized and deaminized over the years, which have rendered it inflammatory to humans. So unlike genetic modification, which inserts or deletes genes, hybridization creates a new protein by combining different strains of the wheat, and this can alter the protein sequence as much as 5%, making it quite different to the original source, and hence more prone to triggering reactions. So the deamination uses amino acids or enzymes to make gluten water soluble, and this is so it mixes more easily with other foods. They've also altered it as well to be more resistant to pests, which unfortunately has weakened it, and often gluten, it finds it hard to hold itself up right now on the wheat stems. So yeah, with the deamination process, this has been shown to create a severe reaction response in people, and you may or may not have realised that hibernation and deamination of wheat appears to play a role in the sharp increase in gluten sensitivity and celiac disease. But not only that, also the inflammation, degeneration and autoimmunity of the brain and nervous system as well. So you may have heard of a pesticide called glyphosate, and this is a commonly used herbicide on wheat crops. So it binds to proteins in wheat, making it foreign to the immune system, and research suggests that this is what makes wheat more immune reactive, triggering the gluten sensitivity. And additionally, glyphosate kills good bacteria in your gut that helps to digest the wheat as well, so which makes undigested wheat even more immune reactive. So sadly, glyphosate is still not banned in the UK when I last checked. It is banned in a lot of European countries, so that's something to watch out for as well. That's why trying to buy organic if you can is always best, to avoid those toxic pesticides. So that's the issue that we're having with gluten nowadays. And I had a client called Jill who was eating a lot of bread and cakes, a lot of gluten in her diet, and she was suffering with really bad bouts of diarrhea, and it was stopping her from going out, and it was really affecting her going out because she'd have to plan where the nearest toilet was, so she could just rush to the loo if she needed to, and it was affecting her getting out of the house in the morning because she'd just been on the toilet for so long in the morning. But after working with me we worked on replacing the gluten foods in her diet for, you know, more energizing foods, and she started to feel a lot better. She had less bouts of diarrhea, and she can now go out without having to worry about rushing to the toilet and sitting there for half an hour. And she's also stopped having acid reflux. She lost 10 pounds, and you know, since she started working with me over a 3-month period, she said even her husband has been saying that it's been worth it and she looks better. And you know, she said it's just improved the quality of her life immensely, like not having to have that stress of having to plan her route in detail to make sure there's a toilet nearby. And I mean, that can make a huge difference to people's lives looking into that. And you know, if this is something that you're reacting to, if you suspect you might have gluten intolerance or even celiac disease, you can go to your doctor and get a blood test for celiac disease. But if you think it is a food intolerance, you'd have to get a private test for that. This is something that I do with my clients, a finger prick, a blood test for food intolerances to check if you do actually have a food intolerance to gluten. And this is a good way to determine if you're reacting to it, and if you're also reacting to anything else as well, which is leading to, you know, tiredness after eating, that you just can't pinpoint what's causing it. And you know, after that you could go on an elimination diet, avoiding those foods to see if you feel better for a set amount of time, and then reintroducing them after doing a gut healing protocol and see if you can tolerate them, or if, like me, it's just a no-no because it's an autoimmune reaction. So yeah, then you can see how you're feeling. So I hope that's been really interesting for you today, because it's such a common issue I see with my clients in my clinic. And I'll be back again next week with another video giving you, you know, useful tips on how to have more energy, sharing more of my stories and of my client stories of recovery, busting fatigue myths. And I'll put a link below. I've got a free guide on 5 steps to start having more energy and less bloating now. And I'm also going to be launching a food intolerance test, sort of an online test you can order soon, so stay tuned for that. I might put a link below when that is up and running and ready. But yeah, so check that below, and if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe if you want to get more of my videos directly into your feed. And yeah, I look forward to, you know, sharing more helpful tips with you soon. So wherever you are in the world, have a lovely week, and I'll be back next week to chat to you again. So take care everyone, and speak to you then. So bye for now.